What happened today in history, June 15th? The Assyrians recorded a solar eclipse in 763 BC, which was then used to fix the chronology of Mesopotamian history. English King John signed the Magna Carta in 1215, placing limits on royal authority. It is described as the birthplace of modern democracy. According to legend, the flag of Denmark fell from the sky during a battle in Estonia in 1219. The Supreme Court ruled in 1982 that all children, regardless of citizenship, are entitled to a public education. Henry Ossian Flipper became the first African-American to graduate from West Point Military Academy in 1877. The Lion King, one of Disney's most iconic animated movies, was released in 1994. Stephen Hawking's ashes were interred between the remains of Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin in Westminster Abbey in 2018. What happened today in history, June 16th? George Stinney, a 14-year-old African-American boy, was wrongfully executed in 1944 for the murder of two young girls, becoming the youngest person in the 20th century in America to receive capital punishment. Abraham Lincoln accepted the Illinois Republican Party's nomination for the Senate in 1858 and declared, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." The French army under Napoleon defeated Prussia in 1815 in the Battle of Ligny, marking Napoleon's last military victory. General de Gaulle gave a speech about the future of the French Constitution in 1946. A treaty was signed annexing the Republic of Hawaii to the United States in 1897. Ford Motors, under Henry Ford, was founded in 1903. Exactly 75 years later, in 1978, the film Grease opened, starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. What happened today in history, June 17th? Vlad the Impaler attacks Mehmed II in 1462 during the night, forcing him to retreat. Emperor Shah Jahan I starts building the Taj Mahal, which is the tomb of his wife who died during childbirth in 1631. The Statue of Liberty arrived in NYC in 1885 aboard the French ship Isère. The United States Navy Hospital Corps was established in 1898. The College Board introduced its first standardized test in 1901, the predecessor of the SATs. The last public execution by guillotine took place in Versailles in 1939. France asks Germany for terms of surrender in World War II, and General de Gaulle departed Bordeaux for London in 1940. O.J. Simpson didn't turn himself in and was pursued by the LA police in his Ford Bronco before eventually surrendering in 1994. What happened today in history, June 18th? Napoleon Bonaparte and his men were defeated by British and Prussian forces in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. General Charles de Gaulle makes his first speech on the BBC to the French people since arriving in London exactly 125 years later in 1940. Calling them to defy Nazi occupiers, this is regarded as the beginning of French resistance during World War II. On that same day, Winston Churchill gives his "This was their finest hour" speech to the House of Commons following the Dunkirk evacuation and the fall of France. In 2022, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences issued an apology to Sachin Littlefeather for the mistreatment she endured after declining an Oscar on behalf of Marlon Brando in 1973. What happened today in history, June 19th? Soviet anthropologist Michael Gerasimov removed the heavy gravestone from Timur's tomb in 1941, and he opened it the next day. The team allegedly found an inscription stating that whoever opens the tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I. 3 days later, Germany invaded the Soviet Union without declaring war. Union General Gordon Granger declared slaves free in Texas in 1865, and this date is celebrated across the U.S. as Juneteenth. The original Nicene Creed was adopted in 325 at the First Council of Nicaea. Louis IV was crowned King of France in 936. French King Louis XI formed the Postal Service in 1464. The French National Assembly issued a decree abolishing the titles, orders, and other privileges of the French nobility in 1790. What happened today in history, June 20th? Roman and Visigoth troops forced Attila to retreat in northeastern France in 451. Deputies of the French Third Estate refused to leave Versailles in 1789 before a new constitution was formed. King Louis XVI, disguised as a valet, and the French royal family attempted to flee Paris in 1791 at night during the French Revolution. Queen Victoria ascended to the British throne in 1837, ruling for more than 63 years. German rocket scientists were transferred to the United States in 1945 under Operation Paperclip. The Soviet Union and the United States signed the Red Telephone Agreement in 1963 to establish a direct Moscow-Washington hotline. The movie Jaws was released in 1975. What happened today in history, June 21st? The first medical diploma in America was granted to Dr. John Archer in 1768 by the College of Philadelphia. French King Louis XVI and his family were captured in 1791 while fleeing the Revolution. Britain celebrated the Golden Jubilee of Queen Victoria in 1887. The first Ferris wheel opened at the Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893. The German Navy, feeling betrayed by the terms of the Versailles Treaty, sank most of its ships interned at Great Britain's Scapa Flow Naval Base in 1919. Jean Moulin was arrested with fellow resistance leaders in 1943. He did not reveal any secrets, even under torture, and that's one of the reasons why he is remembered as one of the main heroes of the French resistance.